Hello, this is a video on how to play Bell. Now, Bell is a type of solitaire where the player moves cards from the lowest piles, so these lowest piles here, into a column, from the lowest piles in a column, and moves them either to the foundation or to another pile, building the piles down and building the foundations up by suit. In a game of Bell Solitaire, the player must switch between moving cards from the left side and moving cards from the right side of play, like so. The player may only build up foundations on the right or on the left side of the board. And so notice how the cards that we can move are on the right and the foundations that we can build are also on the right. In terms of setting it up, well, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you have 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48. And so you have all 52 cards laid out in a sort of bell configuration. You start out by playing with either the right or the left hand side of the board, and you alternate each turn. And so let's just demonstrate here. We want to build up while also being able to move cards. So notice how the jack was placed on the queen there. You can place a card on top of another card, provided that it is one lower and of the same suit. Provided that the card you are placing it on is one higher, and of the same suit. The card that is being placed is one lower and of the same suit. And so this 3 of diamonds here, you can place it on this 4 of diamonds there. And you keep swapping between the left and the right hand side of the board. Note that you can only ever play with the bottom 4 cards on one side, and you have to keep alternating between sides. You can also only build foundations on one side. And so a good example of this would be if I took that 7, I can move it there, but I have to make sure that I was only moving the 7 from this right side of the board. I would not be able to take that 8 and move it to that 9 until I am playing on this side of the board. So I have this 5. What I'll do is I'll place it on that 6. Have the 6, I'll place it on that 7. So, what is the objective of Bell Solitaire? The objective of Bell Solitaire, first, you will lay out all 52 cards by creating 6 rows of 8 cards. The remaining 4 kings are placed at the top in this fashion here. The objective is to build the foundation pile. On the right side here. You can only play with you can only move the cards on one side of the board at a time. And you can only ever move the bottom 4 cards on one side of the board. Do note that so it's quite simple. You move the bottom 4 cards on one side of the board, stacking them on a card that is one higher in rank and of the same suit. Once that is done, you alternate to the other side of the board. Quite simple. The objective being to obviously go from ace to king in terms of foundations. Let us give some tips here. When you are moving cards to different piles, make sure that you do not put 2 cards of a higher value in a pile above them and in the same suit. And so, if you have a 2 of spades in a pile above a jack of spades, don't place a 10 of spades on the jack of spades. Why? Because that 2 of spades is under all of that, And you cannot place the Jack of Spades or the Ten of Spades until the Two of Spades is moved to the foundation. In other words, do your best to stay in chronological order. Now, it's quite imperative that you do so, as staying in chronological order, essentially just play the game like how I am playing and stack cards onto each other, but make sure that they are one apart and of the same rank. The card that you were placing it on must be one higher and of the same rank, the objective being to get all the cards in the foundation pile. And so let us do a quick demo here. Do note that our objective is to get to these aces. That way, we are sort of able to actually start the foundation piles. And so we have made a mistake in that it's quite hard for us to get to this ace. And so what I'll do is I will keep playing, but we will give another round. And then once again at the end we will sum it up like we always do. But I think just by seeing me play, you are sort of able to understand what the gist is. Remember, you can only move a singular card. So we are indeed stuck. And so let us restart here. Give me 1 second. And so we are back. And so note that the objective is to stack all the cards in the foundation piles from ace to king. Note that what you have to do is stack cards on each other, provided that they are one apart in rank and of the same suit, and the card you are stacking on is one higher and of the same suit. Then you can stack cards onto each other. The objective being obviously to stack all the cards in the foundation piles. So that essentially sums up how to play Bell Solitaire. It's quite simple, right? You make 6 rows of 8 cards, and then your 4 kings at the top. Moreover, do realize that you have to try to get to your target cards and free them up, because you cannot move entire piles of cards. You can only move the top singular card on a pile at a time. Also, do note that the most essential thing is to simply plan out your maneuvers here. And also note that you can only play with 4 cards on one side of the bell. You can only play with one side of the bell at a time, and you alternate after each move. What we will do is we will take this ace, move it to the foundation pile. I am looking to free up these 2 aces. What I will do is I will take this jack, place it on this queen. I will then take this 8 of diamonds, and it's quite hard to free up that 9 of diamonds there. So what I will do is I have to get this 10 of diamonds on that. So just watch what I do here. I have to get this 9 of diamonds on this 10 of diamonds, thereby allowing me to place this 8 of diamonds, freeing up this ace of spades. So notice how that freed up the ace of clovers there. Now the objective is to free up the 2 of clovers, but that's quite hard right here to do. So what we will do is we will look for the 2, freeing up the other 2s, right? Because that's quite impossible. We have a large pile here, unfortunately, so we cannot really free up that 2. What we will try to do is we will try to free up that 2 of diamonds here. But that's also impossible because we have a pile in front of it. So the only 2 that we can free up is this 2 right here, as well as this ace. What we will do is we will take the 8 of spades, free that ace. Now we have to free that 2 there. We want to look to set up this 3 of diamonds in a sort of proper spot there. Just by doing so, now we look to free up that 2. Now we can obtain the 3 of spades, wherever that may be. Not sure, it's right there. So the objective will be to free up that 3 of spades, obviously. But we are not playing the best game here. So what I will do is I will restart this game once more, but I think you sort of get the idea. And we will sum it up at the end here, but I do want to try to play a somewhat perfect game here. If you get those queens up on those kings, okay, if you get piles, the lower you get piles, the more cards that you obstruct. If you have a pile of cards here, this entire sequence of cards is obstructed. Thus, you want to try to get your piles as high up as possible, trying to get queens up there. So what I will do is I will continue going for another hand until I obtain some queens towards the bottom here. This is a somewhat decent hand, and so we will make an attempt here. What I will do here is take this 10 and place it on this jack. That will obstruct that entire pile there. So that is not something that I am looking to do. If I take this 3 and put it on that 4, none of the piles are really obstructed. If I take this 2 and put it on that 3, none of the piles are obstructed here, right? So if you can make a move with the top pile, choose to do so. Notice I'm trying to move this 2. That will allow me to move the ace. Then I can once again move this 2. What I will do is I will place that 2 of clovers right there. Now I will try to once again not obstruct any piles here. And I will do so unsuccessfully, as we will have to indeed obstruct a pile. That pile being the top pile right there. Now, what we can do is we have to try to free that 2 there. What we will do is we will take this 10 of... Okay, now I'm just going to make a bunch of moves without explaining them. Because I do not want to be too repetitive here, and hopefully you can sort of understand them. Okay, this is a solid hand here. Where's my 4 of... I apologize for the silence, but where is my 4 of clovers? Okay, it's right there. So this, I cannot move that 3. And so hopefully you can sort of see the strategy behind what I am doing. So now we just need the 3 of hearts there. So we will go ahead and try to perform such a maneuver. But we are out of moves, really. And so you can sort of see the progress I made here. And so let us just sum it up one more time. Bell Solitaire, you move cards from the lowest piles in a column, and you can either move them to the foundation piles here if they fit the chronological order, or you can build piles on top of other cards. Note that you can only lift one card at a time, that being the top card of a specific pile. Note that you must switch between playing cards from the left side and playing cards from the right side of the bell. And so you can either play with the 4 left columns on one turn, and then you alternate by playing with the 4 right columns. It is a really hard game to win, but do note that if you do not, the lower you get piles, the more cards you obstruct. Notice how we have a pile of cards here. That obstructs all of these cards. We cannot play any of these cards. And so you want to avoid making piles whenever you can. And if you have to make piles, make them as high as you can. These piles up here, they are not detrimental. The reason being, they do not obstruct any cards. These 4 king piles up here. And so you want to try to make them as much as you can. And so that sort of wraps up how to play Bell Solitaire. It's actually a very hard game. One more thing I forgot to mention is that when you are always dealing the cards, make sure that the 4 kings are at the top in this manner. And so I'm going to pause it and play for about an hour. And hopefully let's see if we can get some progress. If we can, then I will record it and show you guys. Thank you. And so unfortunately I have been trying for some time here, but I was unable to sort of make any sufficient progress. Reason being, this game is quite hard. Thus, I do encourage you to try your best, as it is somewhat of a thinker. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned a fun new card game.